All right, let's get straight to it. As a Chief Strategy Officer, my job is to give you a direct briefing on the big shifts happening in our industry. Today, we're talking about your career and why the old rules just don't apply anymore.
Look, if you've ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels, working harder than ever but not really getting ahead, you're not imagining things. That feeling of being stuck isn't on you. It's a symptom of a much bigger change in the system itself.
And this is the core diagnosis. The frustration so many sharp, capable people are feeling right now, it's not because they aren't talented, it's because they're playing by rules from an old playbook while the game has completely changed around them. Your skills aren't the problem, the strategy is.
So to build that new playbook, we first have to understand the new game. And it all starts with a massive shift in what organizations actually value. We're moving away from pure execution and towards something far more critical, judgment.
For decades, the path was pretty clear, right? You learned a specific, scarce skill, you got a title, and you climbed the career ladder rung by rung. That whole model worked because doing the work, the actual execution, was expensive, and information was hard to come by. But then, AI came along and just flipped the table. It made execution cheap and information abundant, and in doing so, it completely broke that traditional ladder model.
This slide hits the nail on the head. With AI as a tool, the how of getting something done is becoming easier and cheaper by the day. The real scarcity, the thing that's truly valuable now, is the what and the why. It's the judgment call to decide which work is even worth doing in the first place.
Okay, so let's make this less abstract. Let's look at a concrete example from the world of logistics to see how this value shift actually plays out for two different people. And keep in mind, this applies to pretty much any field you can think of.
So first up, meet the skilled implementer. This person is a wizard with their tools. They know the supply chain software inside and out. They are incredibly good at executing tasks within their well-defined box. Now that skill is valuable, for sure. But in a world where execution is getting cheaper, it's also becoming more replaceable. Their career path is linear. It's tied directly to the tasks they can do.
Now let's look at the systems decider. This person might be using the exact same software, but their whole mindset is different. They're not just focused on the task at hand. They're looking at the entire system. They're asking bigger questions. Why are our suppliers incentivized this way? Where's the real bottleneck that's slowing everything down? If we change this one thing, what are the ripple effects? See, their value isn't just in doing, it's in understanding. And that understanding gives them compounding leverage over time.
So this is the big question, right? How do you move from being an implementer to a decider? The answer isn't about just learning one more skill. It's about building a strategic combination of capabilities, what we call a skill stack.
And this visual really gets to the heart of it. Think of a single skill as one thin thread. It's useful, yeah, but on its own, it's fragile. A strong gust of wind, like a new technology, can snap it pretty easily. A skill stack, on the other hand, is what happens when you weave all those individual threads together. AI literacy, industry knowledge, communication, they all reinforce each other, creating this incredibly resilient structure. The strength isn't in any single thread, it's in the combination.
So what does a really effective, resilient skill stack look like today? Well, it all starts with two foundational layers. First, AI literacy. Think of this as the great amplifier. It makes every other capability you have that much more powerful. And second, judgment. This is your essential filter. In a world of cheap information, it's what helps you decide what's signal and what's noise. Then you layer on top of that compounding capabilities like systems thinking and communication. You put it all together and you've built something incredibly hard to replace.
Now, when the very nature of value shifts this dramatically, it's only natural that the way we measure success has to change too. The old metrics are becoming seriously outdated.
Think about the good old resume for a second. It's a backward-looking document, right? It's a list of what you've done, the skills you have, the credentials you've earned. But in a world that changes this fast, what you knew yesterday might not be relevant tomorrow. That's why organizations are starting to care less about your resume and a whole lot more about how you think. Can you navigate ambiguity? Can you make smart decisions? That's what proves your value for the future.
So if there's one thing you take away today, it's this mental shift right here. This is the single most important change in perspective. The question is no longer, what tool should I learn? It's what part of this system, what part of our industry, do I want to understand so deeply that I can see the leverage points no one else can? Once you have that understanding, the right skills become obvious, and AI becomes your greatest ally, not your replacement.
Finally,
I want to reframe this for all the leaders in the room. This isn't just a piece of career advice for individuals. This is an urgent, strategic imperative for the entire organization.
Let me be crystal clear. This is not some passing fad. This is a permanent, structural change in how value is created in the professional world. As leaders, we have to recognize that our old models of talent development, the ones based on training for narrow specific skills, are now obsolete. We risk preparing our people for a world that simply doesn't exist anymore.
And that leads me to the most critical question for every leader listening. Are you training your people to climb a ladder that has disappeared? Or are you actively building a team of systems thinkers who can navigate the future? The choice you make here will determine not just the trajectory of your employees' careers, but the resilience and success of this entire organization.